celebrating the power of possibility.
I'm Jayson Swain, and I believe that anything is possible.
Welcome to Anything is Possible. Of course, I'm Halloran Hilton Hill, and these are great stories about great people whose lives prove that anything is possible. The Swain event is in the building right now. Jayson Swain, VFL, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
I had no idea that we shared a connection in Huntsville, Alabama. That's where your story starts. What was it like growing up in Huntsville, Alabama?
The Rocket City. It was good. I mean, it's a city that kind of reminds me of Knoxville. Not too big, not too small, growing, close to some of the bigger cities. I was raised in Huntsville, but born in the Chicago area, and so there would be times when I would travel to Chicago area to visit my mom, and the hustle and bustle was a little bit too much for me, and I would always want to come back home to Huntsville because it was just the right tempo for me.
Huntsville's a great town.
Oh, it is. So, the only thing wrong with it is too many Alabama and Auburn fans. But other than that, it's a great city.
You were raised by your great uncle?
Yes, sir.
What's his name?
Reuben Cummings.
How did you come to be raised, not by your great grandfather, but your great uncle?
My mother had me. She was 24. About a year and a half later, she got pregnant with my younger brother, and so you had a infant, and you get ready to have another kid. And my uncle agreed to just take me for a little bit, for a couple days or whatever. And I was crying, and the story is when I went to him, I stopped crying, and the rest was history. And my mom stayed a little bit in Huntsville. My brother was born in Huntsville. She moved to Chicago, and I stayed with my uncle. And every time that I would go to Illinois to try it out, maybe go live with my mom, it just didn't work out. I just always wanted to be with my great uncle and be in Huntsville. So I was born up there, but I was raised in Huntsville for 18 years until I came to Knoxville, became a Tennessee Volunteer to play football.
What was it about, or what is it about him that gave you that sense of peace?
Tough.
Really?
Tough-minded.
Give me an example of tough.
I mean, I've never seen him hurt. Never seen him, cry. Basically, not saying that not crying it means you're tough, but never seen him flustered or not being in control. Never seen him panic. He would always be in control. He's an entrepreneur, so he's owned the business before. Anytime he wants to do something, he just does it. If he doesn't know something, you pick up a book and go do it and read it and learn about it and go do it. Like, no hurdles. I've never seen him, come across an issue and be defeated. He's always found a way around it. And I think that's helped me a lot, and I learned a lot from him.
So here's a guy that gives you a great sense of peace, but he's tough. When do you find your way into athletics and sport?
I mean, I always was pretty good at, athletics. Basketball was my first love. And I'm actually the same height that I was 7th grade. My dad was
How tall are you?
I'm 6'1 and a half, 6'2", something like that. But my dad was 6'4", and I've been this same height since 7th grade. And I got uncles that 6'5" and 6'6", and I was supposed to be that tall. So I'm thinking I'm gonna be playing basketball, but kind of stopped growing. But my uncle just put me in some recreational sports just to teach me some discipline and get me out of the house. And I was just really good at it and kept going at it. And I remember my great uncle. I love him basketball so much. He put a basketball hoop in the backyard. And that's normal, you know. Parents go buy a basketball hoop and put that in the yard. But, you know, my granduncle took it a step further. He installed a street light. I mean, a huge street light where you don't have to change the bulb for years and years and years. But he put that in our backyard just so I can be able to play all times of night. And that meant a lot to me because I knew that he was feeding my passion. And a lot of times you don't have someone in your corner feeding your passion. They see your passion, but they don't kind of give you the resources to continue to be successful and reach your goals. And man, he did that for me. So I do that now as a parent.
You pass that on.
Absolutely.
When we come back, I'd love to talk about how you make the pivot to, okay, football is the future. My guest is Jayson Swain. You're watching Anything is Possible.
Possibility powered by Pilot Flying J, Covenant Health, Home Federal, and the Knoxville News Sentinel. Coming up.
I came on a visit here. It felt like home. I lead with my heart. In Tennessee, I just felt right.
So when did you make the pivot to football, full time?
I mean, I played AAU since I was a pup. You know, was ranked nationally, and around 9th, 10th grade. So I'm actually zoned for Johnson, which is now called Jemison. But I was raised on the north side of Huntsville, and in 6th grade, I got in a little bit of trouble transitioning. And my second 6th grade stint, my uncle told me, "You're going to a different school." So I transferred across town. And when I transferred across town, Grissom is a traditional basketball school. Not really good at football. Football is not important at all. Well, they got a new football coach from South Alabama. And they play real football in South Alabama in high school.
Yeah, they do.
And they caught wind of this 8th grader that was really good in basketball, really good in football. I had no interest in football. I wanted to play basketball. And, you know, the coach talked to my uncle, talked him into let me come out and, you know, be with the varsity. I was still in 8th grade. But I would go out there and I would just dominate. And we talking about juniors.
What position?
Receiver. Yep.
Oh,
and
those receivers.
I was just dominant. It just was so easy. You know, basketball is a little bit harder because I'm 6'1", 6'2". I'm playing, you know, I got to play point. I got to play shooting guard. I wasn't the best point guard, but I could shoot it. But football just it was just easy. It was so natural. Wow. So I played my freshman year. I made All-State as a freshman in Alabama, which doesn't really happen that much for a freshman to do that. My sophomore year, I was All-American. And so I was a 3-time All-American in high school. It was just easy. And so I was going to play AAU one year, and my high school football coach and my high school basketball coach butted heads because one was so used to dominating. Basketball coach was so used to being the show. Well, here comes a new football guy. He's taking basketball players and putting them on the football field.
Yeah, that's a problem.
And so they were butting heads. And so I made a decision when I got hurt in football and I couldn't do basketball. So I got hurt in football during football season. And basketball runs into football. So I couldn't do basketball. I just let it go. I let it go and focused on football, and you know, here I am.
What was it like getting recruited and coming to the University of Tennessee?
I got my first offer in 8th grade. So,
really?
Yeah, I got my first offer in 8th grade. And so it got old real quick, to be honest. So I was getting phone calls. The very first moment you can get phone calls, I was getting them. It got pretty old quick, so much to the point where Uncle called the phone company and installed an extra line just for my room. Said, "Hey, listen, all these coaches are calling. They're getting on my nerves. Here's your own phone line. You talk to them. You deal with them." So I had my own phone line. I was one of the few people in my school that had their own phone. You know, I had my own phone just to deal with college coaches. And so it was cool at first, and it was flattering, and you know, they'll pump your head up, you know, because that's it just doesn't happen a lot. But around the fall of my senior season, I was just ready to get it over with. So at that time, committing around November, December is considered early for the top prospects. Now they do it all the time. But, I came on my visit here in December. I thought I was going to Michigan. Michigan was my number one choice. I had been to the North a couple times, so the cold didn't bother me. I had dreams of playing in the NFL, so Buffalo and Green Bay, I wouldn't say no to them if they drafted me. So I was prepared to go anywhere where I felt comfortable and where I thought I could, reach my goals. But I came on a visit here. It felt like home. I lead with my heart. I'm a big, intuition. If your gut tells you to do something, do it. I'm big on that. In Tennessee, I just felt right. So I went to Michigan, came to Tennessee, and then I went to Georgia as a promise to Rodney Garner, who's now back, who recruited me at Georgia. And I just felt at home. And then I was ready to commit and get it all over with and be a regular high school student.
Were you recruited by Alabama or Auburn?
Oh, yeah. I got offered by them in ninth grade.
Why didn't you stay at home?
I didn't grow up as an Alabama-Auburn fan.
Really?
I didn't grow up as a fan of really any team. As a youngster, you root for the teams that win. Kids are the biggest bandwagon fans there is, right? And that was me.
It's the truth.
I liked Florida when they won. I liked Florida State when they won. I liked Tennessee when they won in '98. And basketball, I'm a Bulls fan because of Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
But in football, I just like the teams that were winning. I liked the Cowboys in '95, and then I liked the San Francisco in '94. So, but I didn't grow up as an Auburn, Alabama fan. When they tried to use that, hey, you Alabama, you got to stay home, it didn't resonate because I didn't. My great uncle wasn't a big sports guy.
Looks like you have his spirit too. You're independent-minded. You lead with your heart, what your heart says. So you get to UT, and boy, do you put up some numbers at UT.
I thank you. When you play, you always feel like you can do more, and I feel like I could have done more. I had to battle injuries, but I'm thankful for the career I had. I'm more thankful for the relationships, the life lessons. I'm a natural introvert. I'm quiet, and I'm not gonna come up to you and talk to you and introduce myself. That's just not who I am. But the adversity has turned me into a better person. I had to turn into a leader. We had a really rough season, and I looked around, and I was like, hey, if it is to be, it's up to me. And so I better start holding guys accountable and hold myself accountable and being a vocal leader. And I think it's helped me now in my business and in my home, being a leader of my household, and standing up and speaking up when things need to be said. So I've learned a lot of lessons playing the game of football.
End up playing for the Bears.
Yeah, I wouldn't say play, Howard. I would say, I'll say sign, got to Chicago, and I mentioned I lead with my heart and make decisions with my gut. And the Bears had just lost to the Colts in the Super Bowl. The Bears did not draft a receiver, but they moved Devin Hester from DB to receiver. And I figured because they didn't draft one, I had a great opportunity to make that squad. So I didn't get drafted because of injuries and things like that. So I get there, I walk into the receiver room, and I see Devin Hester. I'm like, whoa, wasn't expecting that. And I practiced a couple days. It just didn't feel right. It didn't feel right. All the years, all the work, all the extra time you put into this craft and trying to play hurt, I didn't want to be dependent on medications and pills. And I walked into Lovie Smith's office, and I'm thankful that he spent some time with an undrafted free agent, but we connected and bonded. He started his early career coaching at Tennessee, and that was the last time I was in a locker room. I cried at my locker. It was over. I walked away, and I was ready to go do something else.
Wow, and you've done some great something else. Why don't we take a break? When we come back, let's talk about something else and what you've made and are making of your life. It's pretty cool what you've done. My guest is Jayson Swain. More in a moment on Anything is Possible. So you leave Chicago, you leave the world of sports, and you go, I'm going to do something else. What did you decide was your something else?
I went back to Huntsville. I decided I had a few classes left to graduate, so I came back to Knoxville to finish up my degree. I did that, and I truly didn't know what I wanted to do at all. So I didn't grow up wanting to be a doctor or a dentist or veterinarian, or I didn't know outside of playing ball. Not because I didn't have a backup plan, I just didn't know. And so I get my degree. I'm working as a caseworker. I'm helping kids that grew up without a father, kind of like I did, and some unfortunate situations, kind of like I did, and I want to help the next generation. And so, I was offered the opportunity to have an hour radio show, and so I did it for a little bit. I liked it, and the rest is kind of history. I did it because I wanted someone to tell the side of the athlete. Sports journalists, a lot of them they didn't play, and so sometimes the fans and the crowd, they truly don't know what it's like being in the huddle or in the locker room. And so I wanted to tell the athlete side of the story, and that was my biggest motivation for doing it. And it's turned into something that I do full time now.
Tell me about your company. You have built a really great business. Tell me about your business and your show and what it is and what you do.
Well, it's called the Swain event. My first show, I was given an hour. I blew through my content in 15 minutes. I was prepared. I just blew through it, and I didn't even have a name for the show. It was just called the Jayson Swain Show. And I remember opening it up to listeners saying, "Hey, give me a name, and the winner, we'll find something cool for you to give, or make you a guest host one day." And someone came up with the Swain event, so I've ran with it ever since. But a couple of years ago, we built an app because we kind of saw the future. We saw where things were going. People walking around with cell phones, basically tied to their hip or glued to their ear or their face. And we said, let's get out in front of this wave. And so we developed an app. I do my show in the mornings from 7 to 10. A couple of years ago, I decided to build a studio in my house. So with video broadcast, using social media and digital media. And so didn't think it would happen this quick, but we felt like, I felt like we would be out in front of kind of the trend change as far as media and things like that. But we talk Tennessee sports. Obviously, it tends to dominate the conversation because I played here, and we're right here in Knoxville. The fans are so passionate about Tennessee athletics, and so I've been hosting my show for, I want to say 8 or 9 years. I've been doing this 10 years. I've been independent on my own, going on 5 or 6 years, 5 years, and so it's been real fun. Entrepreneur.
What does it feel like to be an entrepreneur? My show is called Anything Is Possible, so I'm all about people who go, you know what, I'm going to try. I believe it's possible.
Well, absolutely. When I first jumped into radio, I was working for a station, and things happened, and I had to make a decision on if I wanted to continue to do radio. And at the time, it wasn't like it was a lot of radio stations out here hiring. So I said, well, if I don't want to do it, I got to make a way. So I did that, and here we are. I have a 2-3 man crew. I bought all my equipment, do all the production myself, video and editing and everything, do everything. And so, probably do the work of 5 or 6 people with 2 each and every weekday. And so, like my great uncle, I saw him find ways where.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
What you absorb from being around people of possibility, right? Because I know what they say, but I also know what we absorb. And can you imagine the stamp that put on you to be around somebody that was like, you just make it happen. Don't wait for the future, create the future.
It's funny, like when I first started, people were like, wait, you're not on a big station? You don't do. And now I have people from big stations calling me going, hey.
How'd you do that?
How you do that? Give me some tips, because I'm thinking about doing that too. And that's that validation, to let you know that, hey man, I was on the right track and I was doing the right thing. So that's definitely gratifying.
Is your great uncle proud of you?
Oh yeah, he is. He is. He rocks his Tennessee hat around, Huntsville. He still does it, and people ask him all the time about me, but he is so proud. Not because of the athletic achievement. My uncle raised me in the church. My uncle is a deacon at his church, and it's been all about that. Every Sunday night, Wednesday, I was there, and that's been the foundation. And so he's more proud of me for the father that I am.
Tell me about your kids.
I got 3 daughters, 12, 6, 5, and that's why I take more pride in any touchdown or any ball that I've caught as being a father that I didn't have. And it's not because my father didn't want to be there. My father was unfortunately murdered when I was 9. And so he wanted to be there. He wanted me to actually live with him in DC, but I wouldn't leave Huntsville. Huntsville's my home. And so I just want to be for them what I didn't have. And I'm prideful. I will drop everything. Being a father, being a husband is the most important thing for me over anything else.
But your father's proud of you too.
I think he will be. I think he will be very proud.
I think you are an amazing story of possibility, and we want you to know how much I appreciate and respect what you do and what you bring to our community. And the marker you put down, you are proof positive that anything is possible. Jayson Swain, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.